Hey everyone, Gilbert here. I'm creating a basic introduction to this video that we're going to be watching here, which is basically about Google Posts or Google Business Posts. Um, I've cut it out, I've edited it, so it just kind of starts in a weird spot. So I just wanted to, to just do a quick intro about it. There's a whole section at the end that's cut out about the question and answers where people who were watching the webinar live were able to interact with me a little bit more and ask directly some questions to me. But in the meantime, this is the slide deck here that you'll see, and I go through it with Sarah, and hopefully you get some good information out of it. It's really designed to help you. I go from basic stuff, information, to really expert information in there. So there is information for all types of users, whatever level you're at, right? So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you do have any questions, just leave a comment. Appreciate the subscribe and all that good stuff that people tell you to do all the time. So just click the buttons. It's really super easy. And again, if you have any questions, just comment below. I'm here to help. Thanks. You can tell when something's important to Google when they keep putting it in front of your face and talking about it. And when you first log into your dashboard, you'll see, like on the bottom here, where you might have a list of businesses, but there's an icon here to create a post. So if you're doing your posts one by one, you don't have to like click on the business, go in and find it. You just click right here. So the fact that they put an icon right off the front page of your dashboard is indicative of they want you to use it, right? Same thing when you log into a specific business, you have posts, which is basically right under, it's the first thing under home. And so again, they're placing something that's important right, at the top for you to see it. So when Google is giving you these little hints of, or wants you to use something, use it, right? It makes a lot of sense. They're not going to come out right out and tell you that we want you to use this, it's going to help you, but they give these little hints by they spend a lot of time with their UX, a lot of time. I'm on meetings with them where they go through the UX and they test, and what do you think of this and what do you think of that? And there's teams of people going through the UX. So the fact that they're putting the post so much up front is telling you that they think it's very important. And so we'll just go through a couple examples of where post display. It's hard to show in screenshots because there's just so many places where they can show up. This is kind of like the bottom of a knowledge panel. So when you search for a business and you have their business on the right-hand side in desktop, at the bottom of that knowledge panel, you'll see a bunch of posts and you can scroll through them. The posts used to be at higher up, but they lowered them down on the knowledge panel. If you click on maps lower, down after the business name, you'll see the posts here and you can scroll through them. So on desktop, there's a few different areas where you can find them. On mobile screens, there's two places where you can usually see them: in the update section, that's where your post will show up, and also in the main overview section. So right when you click on a business, it starts with the overview section. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see another section with the post. So Google is putting them everywhere in different places, and typically these are the ones that stay static where they're going to be found. But the posts, like in these scrollable sections, are being added to all different places all across Google. They call it Google services, surfaces, but it's desktop, mobile, maps, all the apps that you're using. So there's lots of places for you to
I've often wondered,
Jan,
how come posts are so hard to find in a profile? Like, how come they're not more prominent? Because they really are, they represent what that business wants to tell you right now. You know what I mean? But you really kind of almost have to dig for them in these services to find the posts.
Sometimes, I mean, with mobile, like the updates, there's a button, right? So that makes it easier. I think Google wants to give you the most pertinent information right away. So like, you'll have your name of the business, and then it'll tell you the address, the phone number, the website, that kind of stuff. So that's always more important than a post. So I think that's why they're and reviews, come before post information, I guess. So that's where they're kind of ordering. They used to have it up higher, but I think it was taking up too much screen, and it probably was uh, hard for some people to find out this basic information. So then they brought it back up and put the post lower down. So I think, I'm sure they've done so much, all that testing to see where is the best place for the post to go. But they do show up and they do change areas. Every once in a while, they'll pop up somewhere else. And but at this point, that's where we're seeing them.
Okay, I have one quick clarification too from John. When you were talking about multi-location, he's asking, does multi-location have to be owned locations, or can it be independent retailers? I assume that's like if you were an agency, right? I'm not sure.
Right. So the functionality of a post is for the multi-location. See, it used to be that you had to go in one by one. You had to like log into your business, go to the dashboard, log in, create a post. If you had 100 businesses, you would have to press that button, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste 100 times. And so Google wasn't allowing that automatically. So you had to use a tool like DBA Platform to do it for you. Now you can do it. Now they can connect directly to the API and do it. So if you're an agency and you have 10 locations, you're managing 10 locations for a client, then you can do the same thing, right? You can go into DBA Platform, you can create one post and say, I'm going to send it to these specific locations on this date, and you can schedule them out and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter if you have 1, 10, or 1,000, whether you're managing it for a client or if you're direct, as long as you're, manager level on that listing, you have primary owner, manager. As long as you're a manager, you can create posts through the system or directly through the dashboard. So here's another place where posts display that people don't really think about. Not that it's super important, but if you do have a business profile website, so there's every listing has a free website that you can turn on, and what it does is it pulls information directly from your listing. So like kind of it'll show you reviews, it'll show you images, and it'll show your posts. So we turned on the DBA Platform free website through the Google Business Profile Manager there, and you can see our posts. They just automatically will populate as you add new posts. So not super important, but they do show up in places where you don't think that they do. Another thing that I want to mention is that it's not the whole post. So here's a post here, and you can see that in this post, there's some content, and it says our designer roller shades here, and it's showing up in a justification in a 3-pack. So a justification are these little snippets of text or sentences that show up in a 3-pack underneath the business. And there's a bunch of different kinds that show up. You have ones, their website mention. Sometimes there's some that come in from reviews. Some are from, if you have product inventory connected to your listing, it'll show like in stock, that kind of thing. So this one is a post type justification, and the post type justification is pulling in content that is similar to what the query is. So we have automatic window shades is the query in Google. And because they had a recent post that Google thought was matching that, it's pulling it in to the 3-pack. And you can see that they're not even using the exact keywords. They're kind of doing their AI stuff on it, where it says automatic window shades, but they've highlighted and pulled in roller shades. So, and we'll talk about using keywords and how to write the text.
So everybody says that posts are not a ranking factor, but in this case, they are, right? Because that being in the 3-pack is happening probably because there is a keyword match in that post.
It's possible. See, those are things that are very difficult to measure. Would this business be there without the post? It's hard to know. Like, I don't want to go in and delete. You don't want to go in and delete something that's helping you, right? So, but that would be a test. Would be, let's delete the post and then see if we drop out of the 3-pack. I don't think it's showing up because of that. I just think that Google is pulling it in, and then it sees that there's some connection, and so uh, it might be helping. But I'm more inclined to say that it's the AAA Blind Factory was always going to be in the 3-pack, and Google is just adding that extra thing to be helpful to a user. But it's possible that it's giving a little bit of a boost instead of to be third instead of fourth. But it's really hard to know, and that's the problem with testing these kind of things. Is just creating a post in of itself creates some kind of boost. So was it the post? Was it the text on the post? Is it the engagement on the post? Was it it's hard to know what it is that made the ranking boost when you're creating one in the
But
first
good
place.
to know that Google is interacting with the content in the
Yeah.
post. They are aware of it and they could use it. So now we know that they could.
It's definitely scanning and reading it, and even altering it when it needs to match a query. It's doing all its AI stuff, analysis in the background that you don't realize. So that's why posts are important, because Google is reading the content and matching that content with your business, right? So here's a bunch of different types of posts that we can do. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but if you scroll over, you have your COVID post, the offer post, the what's new, the product and event, and they're all a little bit different, but mainly they have an image, they have a text box, and they have a button, a call to action button. And those call to action buttons are a little bit different depending on the post type that you want. So the COVID post, what's new, and event all have the same kind of call to action button. And the product post is different, where it's missing the book and it's missing sign up and call now, but it has a get offer. So they're a little bit different, and you can tailor, depending on what you're posting about, you can choose the ones that make more sense. And just a reminder that you can use UTM tracking parameters on all links that you're adding. So if usually you have a call to action, it says learn more, and it'll be a link, and then that link that you add in will go to your website, for example. You can add UTM tracking parameters on that link so that you can track yourself, because clicks and impressions are not always correct in Google when it shows you in the dashboard. And so sometimes you want to track that yourself. And if you use DBA platform, for example, and you're creating our post, it's automatically in there. You can preset all your UTM tracking parameters. When you create your post, it'll automatically do all that stuff for you, and it really saves you a lot of time. I'm going to talk about the offer post, because the offer post is, to me, the most interesting type, because it gives you more flexibility and more visibility than the other offer posts, than the other kinds of posts. I mean, you have the photo or video section, you have your offer title, you have a content area, and then you have a whole bunch of other, if you want, you can add specific dates. And so usually if you're doing that, you can, if you're posting weekly, for example, you can have them end at certain times, but they can overlap. There's no problem if you overlap dates for offer posts. And what we see is the redeem online button here, and which is the URL that we put in here, put coupon codes. And so I find this has a lot of visibility, and you don't have to put, if you don't put the coupon code in, then it won't show this big block here. It'll just show redeem online. And I have lots of examples coming up. But they don't have that call to action button like you see on the other types of posts. They just have this redeem online button or link.
Yeah, and if you put dates in there, will this post stay up? So if I put a date of like tomorrow through Saturday, will the post still show up, but it'll just show that the offer is no longer available because it says the dates of the offer?
They don't completely disappear, so they'll always be there in the list. So that's not an issue. So you can use that, but you can pick a date that's 6 months out. Like, it really doesn't make a difference as far as a timing. So you can use the offer post in that, and kind of like that's not probably how Google wants you to do it, but you can do that. And like I said, I'm going to give you a lot of examples coming up. And where people get flexible and a little creative is, anything could be an offer. Anything, if you have a download a white paper on your website, if you have a free consultation, if you have all kinds of coupon or special, you can use that you can create that as an offer post. And I find it gets more there, it's more visible than the other types of posts. So this is my favorite. Now, if you don't have any of that, stuff to talk about, and you just want to put a what's new, then you could just, and it's news, then you do a what's new, right? If you have a specific event that you're hosting at a time and date, then you can use that. It gives you, use what makes sense to the information that you're trying to promote. But I just wanted to show you that the offer posts, a lot of people don't use it, but I find it's the most flexible. So let's talk about what makes a good post. And I have a bunch of examples here. And in general, we just want to use marketing principles, right? So we know that people in images get more views, faces get more views, more clicks, right? People are attracted and looking at other people instead of things, right? So when we have certain categories of businesses, we try to do that. In this case, there's two dentists, but if you're a lawyer, or if you're, people like to see faces. If you're an owner, it makes a connection. It gives a human face to your business, and you're just not a generic business. You're a person behind that business. That if you're, taking pictures of yourself as the owner. And so if you're an agency and you're having trouble getting images for your clients because you're trying to do posts for them and they're not sending you pictures, that's the kind of thing that you can ask them. Tell the owner to stand in front of his business, stand in front of his door with the sign, stand in front, shaking hands with other happy clients or things like that. So people in the images get more engagement. You can also put text on the images, so that always works better than just a straight image. And so you don't want to take up too much area with your text, because Google doesn't like only text, and they'll reject a post for doing that. There's certain guidelines where you can't have more than 50% of it words. It's not 100% because the AI system will scan it and sometimes will pick it up, sometimes not. But these are good examples. I find that in that white space that's not really being used there, you're typing in some things there, either your name of your business or a call to action, that kind of stuff. Keywords in the title are important, and you'll see here they have their service that they're providing. They're adding that as the title of your post. You don't have to put a title, but I recommend that you always add a title, because that's where you can put your keywords, and I'll show you why that's important later. And put about 100 words. That you're able to put about 300 in there. Use about 100 words of content, because you're not writing a full article. The goal of this is to get the click, is to get the call to action done, to get go from the post to the website, or the post to call, if you're using the call button, and it goes directly to the phone. So you don't want to overwhelm people with lots of reading. You want to put enough in there that makes sense, that has the main keywords of the service or promotion that you're talking about, and just get to the point, but add all your stuff. And don't keyword stuff, because Google, like I showed you before, Google is analyzing the text of this content. So if you're writing it and it's full of, if it's full of keywords and it's not readable, and there's grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, Google will see all that and say, whoa, that's not good content. That's low quality content. We don't like that. And you might get your post rejected at that point.
And so, I should mention on that point, Bradley asked a question about using hashtags, and Sherry answered him in the Q&A. Sherry is another Google product expert who is on our advisory board for DBA and Local Falcon. And she answered, don't use hashtags. They're not relevant, and Google doesn't want you to use them. And that probably goes along with what you were saying there, Jan, where it's analyzing the verbiage, and hashtags are maybe impeding that process.
Yeah, definitely. I have that. I have a list of questions at the end here, and that's one of them. But I'll just answer since it's brought up. Sherry's correct. Basically, it would be seen as keyword stuffing, and there's no reason to put that in. It's not something that Google will see as high quality. And they don't connect. They don't connect. It's not like Twitter or Facebook where you can hashtag and it connects to other. This is very specific to your listing. They don't connect to other places in Google. So there's absolutely no reason to put hashtags. It doesn't help you. If you want to put keywords in there, then write them in a normal sentence, and that's how they're going to get pulled into those justifications. Also, you'll see the views and the clicks show up at the bottom. That's the only place where you can see the analytics for the post. And so you have to go on each specific post to see what that information is. And so another thing that makes a good post are call to actions in the image. So you'll see again another dentist. This is good. People's faces, they're smiling at you. Here's a book now. This is in the image. So if someone clicks on this, it's not going to go to their website yet, but it will open up. It will open up the post itself and enlarge it, which is an engagement factor. So you're kind of getting people to click on that. Same thing with the call now. It doesn't do anything when it's in the image. You would have to go and click the button that said call now button or learn more button. And so these kind of posts do well also to get engagement because you have, partial text with some background image that's nondescript. And if you have low quality images and you're not sure what to do, this is a great way to try to stretch those images out, because then you can fade them in the background and have your call to action in the image, and your not so high quality image is not so predominantly, it's not like really focused in on something that you don't want. If you're a dumpster rental business, you don't want a high quality image necessarily, because it's all cruddy and rusted and maybe it doesn't show up nice, right? So you want to fade that out in the background and have your call to action in the front. So those are just ideas that you could do. You can see again the titles are there, and in this case they have emojis, and I'll show you a good example of what happens when you add those emojis into the title.
Abigail's asking, she says she posts, but she's never seen how to put a title in. How do you put that title in?
So that's why I like the offer post.
She's using a different post type probably.
Yeah, it's the offer post that allows you to do that. That's why I was mentioning that one as the one I like the most. So other reasons or good posting etiquette here is, you have a brand and people like consistency. So make consistent posts. If you're using, Canva or any kind of image working tool, make them look similar, right? You want to show that you're professional as a business. And I'm not saying this is the best one, but or you're using all the same colors, but have something that is recognizable as people scroll through them, that you see similar styles, right? So it really helps your brand to differentiate yourself when instead of showing like, here's a close-up and here's a low quality picture and here's a person, here's the building, like try to group everything together. In this case, it's these circle overlays with the text, but you see how it's kind of taking 3 different kinds of pictures, but they're making it one style, right? And so it makes your post look a lot more professional to do that. Some more examples here. So we talked about the title, and now we have that emoji in the title, and you'll see on this 3-pack here's a justification that is from the offer post, and you'll see that emoji and the title shows up in the 3-pack. So these are just little tricks. Now, is it helping in ranking? No, but when you're looking at this, and now I have this blue little color, this icon, I have this red icon. The other 2 don't have it, right? So my eye might go, or user's eye might go to that because they have color, whereas the other ones don't have color. And so it's just those little psychological marketing things that help. And those come from thinking about your posts and planning your posts and not just, and oh, I have to make a post, let's just do one really fast. Plan them out, schedule them out, and put all those good elements in there so that you have the best chance. And when Google does like it, it'll pull in those things that make you just that little extra more than the competitor, right? So let's talk about rejected posts, because those we always see on the forum. Why is my post rejected? So there's a lot of people that complain. So don't put phone number. You're not allowed to put phone numbers in the content of the post. Don't put URLs in the content of the post. If you want to put a phone number, we saw, if I go back up here, this is part of the image. So they put the phone number in the image, but they don't put the phone number or links in the content, right? If you want to add a link, add it here. There's also, if you use the other types of posts, you have a call now button, and you could link that directly. So Google doesn't want you to put that stuff in the post content. But if you want to have your phone number showing, then do it like this. This is a great way to do that. Too much text overlaying the image. So if you have an image and it's like pure text, Google doesn't like that in a post. It likes to see posts with images of people or products or external things. They don't just want a wall of text. They'll reject those kind of posts. And no content related to like shady stuff that Google says is alcohol, tobacco, gambling, financial, farm and drugs, and that kind of stuff. And so Google will look at the content of the image. So let's say you don't even talk about it in your content. Google will actually look at the content of the image, and I'll give you an example in a couple slides where they're analyzing what's in the image. And if they see a beer can or an alcohol bottle, they'll say, no, you can't post this. Even though you don't say anything in any kind of keywords that it's about alcohol, they'll figure it out that it's about alcohol, and they will reject that kind of post. So here's an example where they had the word homosexual in a post. It's a legitimate use of in the content of what they were talking about, but it's on the naughty list, right? So the Google nanny filter doesn't like you to talk about things, certain words, and there's a lot of words that are benign words, that are normal words, that Google says, well, those words you can use them in a bad way, so we don't want anyone to use it, right? So I don't know if it's true anymore, if they've taken it off, but at one point there was plumbers getting their posts rejected because they had the word toilet in the content, which is normal for plumbers to talk about, but I guess Google doesn't like toilet humor, and they just said, nope, can't use the word toilet. So I don't know if they removed it or not, but that's just an example where you're looking at a post and you say, why is it rejected? There's nothing wrong with it. It could be because of those words. So you have to look at every word and say, well, can I use this as a bad word or not? Or can, if I called someone this, would it be bad or not? So it kind of gets stupid sometimes, but that's the way it is.
Does Google
and there's no
tell
list
you
on,
why they reject it?
What?
Do they tell you if it's
No.
the image or the words? They just stamp it reject?
No, they just say here, it just says, in order for posts to remain in your profile, they must adhere to our post content policy, and they'll give you a link to it. So they don't tell you. They're like, go figure it out, which isn't very helpful, but they don't want to tell you exactly what's wrong, because then
you'll work around it.
Will manipulate and go to the edge of what they can do. So they kind of, and they do that so they don't have to update their support articles all the time, right? So they just keep it generic, and they change the rules as they feel like internally. So that's, just an example like that. So Google doesn't like certain topics or certain words. Here's an example that someone came to us in the forum where they asked, well, why is my post rejected? There's nothing in here at all. The image looks fine. The words are reading fine. There's nothing in there that would be bad. You can always go to support and say, hey, what's wrong? My post was rejected, and contact support through your dashboard and say, my post was rejected. Can you check it again? and then they'll have a human look at it, and someone will make an actual decision instead of the AI system passing through. In this case,
It does say killer there, Jan.
Where's that?
It says killer.
Maybe, yeah. In this, yeah, it does. It could be that one, but there was another reason why this one was rejected, actually, and it was because of this reason here, where Google is, as I mentioned before, Google is analyzing the images, and in this case, they thought that the image was too racy and had adult content on it. So Google has trouble with skin-toned images, or whoever's feeding the AI system was feeding them some weird websites for them to train their algorithm, because pictures of feet and shoes maybe were just a little bit too much. And so, don't be too sexy for Google. And if you're not sure, you can go to the Vision AI tool, and you can check out one of your images to see what Google actually thinks what's in your post. If you don't know who this is, then that's a song that is maybe too old for some of you guys. So here's a bunch of questions. I didn't have time to put images on all these questions, but these are the ones that always come up. So do all countries have the post feature? No, not all the countries do. There's no list. I know Russia doesn't have it, but I don't know specifically which ones don't, because Google doesn't publish that. And so I'm sure that if you're in those countries, you know if it works or not. They're just not going to be available for you. There's nothing to do about it. Do all business categories have posts? Yes, I think all business categories have posts at this point. The lodging ones used to not have it, but now they do, but they're limited to the what's new and the event type posts. And do posts increase rankings? And that's the most common question, really. And the quantity of posts doesn't matter. It's the engagement on the posts that matter, right? So if you think about how the system operates, the Google system operates, they don't want people to be able to manipulate the ranking. So if you can imagine a spammer and he's creating 1,000 posts a day, which can happen, that would manipulate the system if the quantity counted, right? But what Google wants is engaging and good and people interacting with your posts. So you take your time, make a good image, craft a good content, like the written part, and make posts that people are clicking and viewing and reading and scrolling through all your posts, right? That's what's going to increase your rankings. It's the engagement on the post that Google is counting. And that, again, is compared to your competitors, right? So if you're getting more engagement on your posts compared to the ones that are in your area, that's going to help you get boosted up. And so it's not the quantity, it's the quality, and really because the quality is creating engagement. And so we'll go through some other questions about how often do you do that and stuff like that. So how long do posts stay active? Now, Google keeps messing around. It used to be that you had to do it once a week, and then they wouldn't disappear, but they would be harder to find. Right now, I think it's about 6 months, but I just saw sometimes on desktop, it's a little bit different than on mobile. They're a little bit different. So Google doesn't keep things static. Again, weekly posts is what Google suggests to use. And I'll give more details later. Should we use hashtags? No, we covered that. They don't add value. They're probably detrimental to the quality of your post in Google's eyes. Can you repeat older posts? So this is a common question where people ask, can I reuse posts? Yeah, you can reuse posts. Just don't reuse them. Don't post the same thing week after week after week, or use the same image and changing the text. Again, that's boring. People are not going to click on that. They're not going to engage. If they're scrolling and it's the same post every single week, you're not going to get engagement on there. And you're also not helping yourself as far as the keywords. Remember how the keywords getting pulled into the justifications. If you're creating posts that are talking about, if you have 10 different services, you create one post for each service, and now you have more variety in your text and keywords potentially being pulled into that 3-pack and matching a user query, right? And so you want to create, 15, 20 posts. Let's say if you're posting every week, let's say for a quarter, that's 12 posts. Maybe you have a special because there's a holiday every once in a while, so you have 15 to 20 posts that you're creating. And after about 3 months, maybe 4 months, you can start to reuse the same posts, the same image, same content if you want. There's no penalty, there's no reason. And if you have a post that works well, if you go up and you see like the views are high and the clicks are high, then why wouldn't you want to reuse that one in 2 months from now, right? So you don't want to just create new ones just for the sake of creating new ones. If something's working, then keep it there, reuse it. Just don't repeat it all the time. You want to give some variety for those reasons of keywords and for users, because you have different things. The users will click and read all your different posts, which is more engagement, right? So
yeah, let me jump in there
ahead.
a second too, just because you and I just wrote an article together about posts and how I think one important thing to think about is that these posts are not like Facebook posts in that nobody's subscribing to your profile and getting this content delivered to them in their feed. So people have a tendency to treat these posts. They'll ask us like, should I put up more? Should I post every day? Should I, let people know when we hire a new employee? And should we tell stories? Like, what could this content be comprised of? And really, after talking to people like Sherry, experts in this and the research that Jan and I have done, really it does seem to make the most sense to put up your best content and repeat it, because people are generally kind of at the top of the funnel marketing wise when they're finding your posts, because they're literally on your profile researching you, or they're doing a search and your post is showing up there. It's not like somebody's going to subscribe and read all your posts. This is really very like close to a conversion when people are wanting to call you or go to your location. And so you can put an offer there that might entice them. You could tell them about a product or service that you have that they might not realize that you have. It's really, I think about it, if you're old enough to remember the Yellow Pages, I think about it as like posts are extra things that you would add to a Yellow Pages entry if you could. It's like, what are the things that would convince somebody to choose me or educate them? Find those best messages and then stay with them. This is not about creativity and changing it up every week. It's about new people coming to see me. What can I say to them that gets them to go deeper with our business today?
Yeah, that's perfect. That like you said, they're close to a conversion, right? These are new people that are searching. They've clicked on your listing, and now they see they scroll through a couple posts, and they're looking for teeth whitening. Oh, you have a teeth whitening post. Oh, I know that you do that. So you're just trying to confirm with that searcher that you provide exactly what they're looking for, and so you have a variety of posts that you create for all your different services, and then you can reuse those if they work well. Now, sometimes you might want to switch out an image if you get a better quality image or change the text the next time around, but you're tweaking. You're not making a new one all the time because you have a certain amount of services and those are what you want to promote, right?
Clive and Tricia asked about that article that we did. I think that's actually scheduled to publish in March sometime. So we'll share that link in the Facebook group. We'll go into it at the end too, but we do have a private Facebook group that you are all invited to be in, where we share the recordings from these webinars and other articles and blog posts and lists and all of the things that everybody asks us to compile all gets shared in that Facebook group. So Ryan will probably put that link into the chat so that if you want to get there directly right now, you can. And he's standing by to let you in. So it'll all get announced there.
Yeah, super. And the last question here, we got 10 minutes left. So can you use text from your website? Yeah, of course. There's no duplicate content at all. Like we were just saying, you can reuse posts, but you can, if you have a couple of good paragraphs and you're trying to save time, grab it from your website content and put it on your post. Google's not checking that and caring that you are reusing sentences. So that's fine. If you already written good content, then you reuse that good content.
Okay, we have so many questions. So many questions.
Yeah. Okay. So how often? So this is this might cover some. How often do you post? So Google says weekly, but it's really figure out what you want to post out. So you got to think about it, right? You got to sit down for a little bit of time and say, I have these services. I'm going to create posts for about one of each of these things. And then I have a holiday, I have a Valentine's Day, I have a Christmas thing. And so create those all ahead of time. You could go into the BA platform and schedule them out. And that way they're done and you're sitting down for, half a day and just doing it all. Weekly is recommended. So you can, okay, I have 3 months of posts. I have one a week. That's this many. And then I have plus this. Now, if you have a lot of content, if you're a restaurant and you have a special every single day, then put a post for your special every single day, because that makes sense to the users. And when someone new comes that day, then they see it, right? So it really depends on the type of business. Typically, though, you're not going to have that kind of turnover of content. And because if you're, your services are staying the same all the time, then weekly is fine. Posting every day, I just mentioned, it's too much. You want the engagement. So if you're posting every single day, you're going to have those posts disappear faster. There's no engagement on them. And then Google says, well, they're not good. No one's clicking on them, right? Because they're disappearing. So you have something good, take the time to do it right and let it sit there for a week and then repeat it often, every so often to get that done. So unless you're a business with lots of views like a restaurant, then you don't need to do one every single day. What are a good amount of views? Well, that is hard. You can't measure that. It's compared to your competitors. And so even if I said, well, dentist posts should get this amount, well, is it a dentist in New York City or is it a dentist in a small town of 5,000 people? They're going to get different amount of views, even though they're the same category. So it's really your category compared to your competitors. And we don't have metrics on that kind of stuff because we would have to have all, so many different things to check. So it's relative compared, right? What counts as a view? Every time it becomes visible on the screen, it counts as an impression or a view. And every time someone clicks the call to action button, that's a click. It's not a click on the post to make it bigger. It's a click on the call to action button. So I'll open it up for everyone else now. So hopefully you've gotten some good information out of what you've just watched, either that or I completely bored you. Either way, you're still here. So why don't you subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet? If you do have any questions, leave them in the comment area and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. If they're too specific, then you can contact me directly and we can figure something out about that. But otherwise, leave a comment and I do my best to answer those. So appreciate you watching and subscribe to my channel. I do have these webinars once a month with DBA Platform. So if you go there and join the newsletter, then you'll get the updates and you can watch me live. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel and you will get my replays that I do edit a little bit, but you can go ahead and at least get notifications when I do upload something new. Thank you.